If we could start the meeting, please, with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. We will start the meeting with a community forum, give the members of the public a chance to address the board. Is there anybody who wishes to address the board this evening? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. My name is Kevin Lemoy, and I'm the Director of Educational Technology here in Vernon. I'd like to take a moment to ask for a reconsideration on the decision during our last budget session to cut the number of teacher computers, replacement computers. About a year and a half ago, I gave this board some detailed reports on the state of the computers in the district. And that played somewhat of a role in our decision to join with the town with our networking. I want to take you back to some of those statistics if I could. At that time, we had 1,344 computers in our district. That means that today, 171 of them are 6 years old, 143 are 7 years old, 6 are 8 years old, 19 are 9 years old, 36 are 10 years old, and 63 are 11 years old. Put that into some numbers for you. It means that 438 computers are 6 years or older. Or another way, 1/3 of our total computers are that age. Next year, 264 more computers will turn 5 years old. So that will give us a total of 702 computers that are 5 years or older, or 52.2% of the computers in our district. At a rotation cycle of 50 computers a year, it's going to take us 26 years to complete one full rotation. We need a 5-year rotation, especially with the testing that's coming up in 2014. Ladies and gentlemen, the majority of the computers in this district are running Windows XP Professional. Windows XP Professional came into the market on October of 2001. That means that it's an 11-year-old and 4-month-old operating system. So the idea that we're running such an obsolete system is unconscionable to me with the idea that we're doing right by our students. So at 144 computers in the district, to get to a 5-year rotation, we would need to replace 268 computers every year. To get to a 6-year rotation, we would need to replace 224 computers every year. We have a remarkable new network that we have created with the town, and I just want to take a second to express my admiration to the mayor and his staff for his leadership in helping us get there, and also to the superintendent for helping us get there. It was truly visionary. Lots of people talk about doing it. These folks actually did it, and it's made a very big difference in this town, and it will continue to do so for many, many decades to come. So with this new remarkable network in our hands, having 52% of our computers that are over the age of 5 is sort of akin to having a brand new Ferrari and never changing the oil for 6 or 7 years. We're just not going to recognize the power of this network with a rotation schedule like that. Some have suggested, well, let's throw a $500 computer on a network like this. Again, same analogy, you've got a brand new Ferrari, we're going to put retread tires on it. We're not going to see the performance that we expect. I've been a network engineer for over 20 years, and I think one of the reasons that I got hired to do this job was because of my expertise in this area. And I can tell you from time and time again, seeing businesses and schools go this route, they have lived to regret it, and it's cost them more money. A $500 computer is not a business class machine. Do we need to buy the best, the top of the line machines? Certainly not. Do we need to buy the $500 machine? No. Where we should be is right in the middle with a solid business class machine and a decent warranty. That's going to help get us to where we need to be. If we don't do that, we're going to see computer failures increase, we're going to see teachers becoming more frustrated, and ultimately it's going to cost us more money. So, in closing, What I'd like to ask is for you to think about the 21st century classroom that we are trying to build here in this school district. The 21st century classroom is not something populated with a 6, 7, 8, 10-year-old machine, and certainly not with an 11-year-old operating system. Especially when we have a state-of-the-art network, which I have to tell you is probably the envy of many, many towns and school districts in Connecticut if they knew what we actually had under the hood over there. To think about using a 10-year-old computer, or a 5-year-old computer, 11-year-old operating system, or a $500 computer on a network like that is just not doing what we needed to do. So I'd like to ask that one of you or someone make a motion to look at that again and add back those computers back into our budget with an eye towards getting us away from an impending disaster of 256 computers needing to be rotated out. We're in a very bad place here, and we need to take a step back and examine that. Thank you.
Thank you. So anybody else who wishes to speak at community forum this evening, please come forward, state your name and address for the record.
Dan Nevelos, 54 Hillcrest Drive. I've attended several Board of Ed meetings over the past year since my son started kindergarten with the intent of learning more about how the school system works. I'm a product of the Vernon school system myself. Last night's Board of Ed meeting was a great illustration of the highs and lows of Vernon education. We had a wonderful presentation on the new student advisory programs being put in place at BCMS and RHS, programs that I sure wish we had when I was a student. We also had a heartbreaking story about the crushing need for medical services to be brought directly into the schools to help out students who are not getting proper medical care at home. You couldn't ask for a better illustration of the great disparities of need in our town. We have children with wonderful homes, not a want in the world, and then ones that don't have a stable or safe roof over their head. The Vernon school system's stated goal is to help all of these children. It's a challenging charge, but one that I have observed the dedicated staff and the board tackle every day. And I'm here tonight to ask the board to match the dedication and have the town match the budgetary support necessary to give them the tools to be successful. I was very encouraged at the beginning of these budget meetings to see almost unanimous support for all-day kindergarten at the beginning. It was refreshing to see both the Republicans and Democrats come together in an apolitical way, as they should on the school board, to support what they identified as a great way to give kids, especially ones from lower socioeconomic backgrounds, the extra help they need early on. It's become clear, though, that we can't afford to implement this program, in my view. I would propose that we roll back to the superintendent's original proposal for phased implementation. The small bit of research I've done seems that the phasing it into the most needy kids may be able to give us a majority of the benefit this year. And then in the coming years, we'll get the rest of the 20% of the benefit with the more flexible work day that the all-day kindergarten would give to all the town. I think simply knowing that it'll be coming will still be an encouragement for a lot of the parents I know that have 1- and 3-year-olds who are trying to decide now, are we going to stay in Vernon? I know that space is an issue. Maybe it's time to start thinking big. Maybe it's time to start thinking about bonding while interest rates are low, to make repairs, renovations, or rebuild or close some of these old schools like Maple Street that can't be brought up to modern standards. I'm not going to repeat too much of what Mr. Lemoy said, but I'm also an IT professional. I've worked in IT for 15 years doing exactly what Kevin does. I do that job day in and day out. Our kids are saturated with technology. We live in a digital world. They come into our schools and they enter a digital black hole. There's no way we're going to get to the 21st century learning environment that we need funding technology the way that we do. My first grader doesn't get to use the single computer lab at Center Road, but he's going to need to type and do computer-based testing in 2 years on the computer that I replaced at my business 7 years ago? I don't think so. I'm not going to also talk too much about the magnets. I think they speak for themselves. If you've gone bowling at spare time, they're advertising. They see the bottom 30 schools and they're coming for the parents that They know we're motivated to give their kids what they want, and if they don't see it here in Vernon, they're going to look elsewhere. I still believe in Vernon schools, though. In conclusion, I'm not only an RHS grad, but I'm also a UConn grad. I was in the top 5% of my class at RHS. I got into Northeastern, but UConn was the best I could afford. I'm very glad I made the choice I did. Right after I accepted my admission, the UConn women won the national championship. And people started to say, maybe UConn could be a little bit more. The Republican governor and the Democratic legislature took a huge gamble and backed that crazy notion up with the largest public investment in higher education ever with UConn 2000. 5 years later, they doubled down with 21st Century UConn, and look at the results. UConn is a top 20 public institution. They had 30,000 applications for the 3,000 spots they have next year. It's time for UConn to wake up, for Vernon to wake up and bring pride back into our schools and treat them like the strategic asset they are, rather than just a financial burden on the taxpayers. We can't afford to lose any more good families to other towns because of the poor reputation we've let develop over the last decade. And we certainly won't attract any new families. Let's start a new motto in town for our schools. I saw this on a bumper sticker in Mass and I loved it. Vernon schools are Vernon's pride. Thank you.
Thank you.